during phase one, he's definitely been one of the bright faces. The organization is definitely looking to build this thing up around, as he has been around nonstop during the offseason. And you can see he's galvanizing the troops, and the team is really rallying.
Todd Monken just made the loudest statement of this Browns offseason without saying much at all. He named Shedeur Sanders a team captain for Cleveland's offseason training program, and that decision hits every doubt around him head on, because teams do not hand that kind of responsibility to a quarterback they are unsure about. They give it to someone they want, setting the tone. So while people keep debating Shedeur, Monken's move suggests Cleveland may already be showing exactly where this is headed. Quarterback competitions usually get louder as they go. More noise, more hedging, more vague answers from coaches trying to keep every option alive. What is happening in Cleveland feels different. It feels quieter, more settled, and that is exactly why people around the league should be paying attention.
Too early to really evaluate him, other than it's been great that he's been in the building. It's refreshing to see a player that recognizes where he's at.
Because this does not look like a staff still searching for its answer. It looks like a staff building around one. And at the center of that shift is Todd Monken. What stands out here is not one quote or one practice clip. It is the pattern. The way Monken has reportedly worked with Shedeur Sanders, the way he has leaned on him, the way he has allowed him to carry messages through the room, not as some formal title, but as a natural extension of trust. That matters. Coaches do not casually hand players that kind of responsibility, especially at quarterback. When a coordinator starts using one player as a bridge to the rest of the offense, he is doing more than delegating. He is revealing where the room is supposed to look when things get serious. He is defining the voice. He is defining the center of gravity. And according to the source material, that center is Shedeur Sanders. That is a major shift, because last season was framed very differently. The source describes a year where Sanders took hits, absorbed criticism, stayed quiet, and kept working while the environment around him offered little support. No first-team reps in camp. A coaching staff that, in this telling, barely acknowledged him publicly. A situation where the blame seemed to land on the young quarterback faster than it landed on the structure around him. Whether you agreed with every criticism or not, the result was obvious. Doubt became the story. And Monken appears to understand that stories like that do not disappear on their own. They have to be replaced. So instead of letting Sanders drift inside that old narrative, he seems to be doing something much more deliberate. He is turning private respect into public leadership. He is taking whatever credibility Sanders already earned with teammates.
I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there. So I think that's the thing that excites you. What you see on tape are those aspects. A very young player that really didn't grow up in a pro-style offense. It's not his fault. Our job is to develop.
And giving it form, giving it function, making it part of how the offense operates. That is how a quarterback stops being a name on a depth chart and becomes the axis of a team. The source also points to something else that matters just as much. Monken has not merely supported Sanders behind closed doors. He has pushed back on the narratives around him in public. He reportedly challenged the idea that Sanders is not a playmaker, essentially rejecting the premise outright. That is not just routine coach speak. That is a coordinator trying to tear down the framework that made people question the player in the first place. And that framework, as described in the source, was not small. It was built over a full season of limited opportunity, uneven support, and a media environment ready to treat every flaw as proof of a larger verdict. Monken's response to that seems simple. Stop debating the verdict. Start changing the conditions. That is where the front office enters the story. According to the source, Andrew Berry made it clear the Browns are not searching for another quarterback. They are not keeping the room artificially unsettled. They are not acting like a franchise bracing for uncertainty. Instead, they are investing elsewhere, especially in pass catchers who can stretch the field and make life easier on a young quarterback. That is not a neutral move. Teams do not build aggressively around skill positions if they are unconvinced about the player delivering the football. They do not spend an offseason creating better answers on the outside unless they believe the answer at quarterback is already moving into place. Every offseason decision sends a message. This one feels hard to miss. Then there is the contrast inside the room itself. The source says Dillon Gabriel reportedly had not even been in contact with Monken after the transition. If that is true, it does not just reflect poorly on one player. It sharpens the larger picture. One quarterback is being pulled deeper into the structure of the offense. Another, at least according to this account, is not even establishing that connection early. That is how competitions stop looking like competitions. Not with one dramatic announcement, not with a headline, with distance, with repetition. With one player becoming more essential to the daily rhythm of the team while the rest fall further into the background. And that may be the most important part of this entire story. This is not really about a camp battle. It is about institutional alignment. Last season, the source describes a Browns environment that left a gifted young quarterback exposed. This offseason, the same franchise appears to be correcting that. New voice, new posture, new investment, and most importantly, a new willingness to organize the offense around the player instead of forcing the player to survive the offense. That is what Todd Monken's role suggests here. He is not just coaching Shedeur Sanders, he is repositioning him. He is taking a quarterback who, by this account, earned respect the hard way and turning that respect into authority. He is taking belief that already existed in pockets of the locker room and making it part of the team's structure. He is telling the room directly and indirectly that this is the player the offense should move with. And once that happens, the conversation changes. It is no longer about whether Sanders can win people over. It becomes about how far Cleveland is willing to go now that it finally looks ready to back him. That is why this matters beyond one roster. Around the league, teams always say they want to develop young quarterbacks. Far fewer are willing to do the harder part, which is clearing out the mixed signals, the half commitments, and the political caution that can bury a player before he gets a real chance. The source argues that Cleveland is finally doing that now. If so, then this is not a small offseason subplot. It is the beginning of a full transfer of control. From doubt to direction, from ambiguity to ownership, from a quarterback being talked about to a quarterback being empowered. And if that is truly where this is headed, then the league is not watching a normal position battle in Cleveland. It is watching the moment the Browns decide who they are building around. This is how the story turns, not with a press conference, not with a headline, not with some dramatic announcement that tells the world what Cleveland is thinking. It turns when the building starts moving differently, when the coach's trust becomes visible, when the locker room starts taking its cues from one voice, when every offseason move stops looking random and starts pointing in the same direction. That is what makes this bigger than a quarterback battle. This is about control, about belief, about a franchise deciding whether it is finally ready to stop sabotaging its own future and fully hand the offense to the player. It should have been developing the right way from the start. If Todd Monken keeps pushing this the way it looks like he is, then the debate is already dying, quietly, inside the building first, and then eventually everywhere else. And when that happens, a lot of people who spent last season talking down on Shedeur Sanders are going to have to explain how they missed what was right in front of them. Because this was never just about talent. It was about whether Cleveland would have the clarity to recognize it, protect it, and build around it. Now it looks like they finally do. And if that is true, then this saga is not ending with doubt. It is ending with the Browns choosing their direction and the rest of the league being forced to catch up. For more breakdowns like this, follow Huddle Files. Because when the story shifts, we are not just watching the headline. We are tracking the pattern before everyone else sees it. And you already know we'll have every second of it broken down, every twist, every leak, every hidden play behind the headlines. So subscribe, drop a comment, and share it out. Stay locked in with Huddle Files, where the real NFL stories live.